This wasn't your standard issue body armor. It was a full set of the gear she would have set up in her locker in the mudroom. In fact, as neatly as it was placed in the crate, she bet she could have it on in under a minute with a salute ready for the CO. She was never faster than a Wally, but he was a freak of nature and didn't count. Her hand drifted to the helmet, fingers pushing across the harsh gray metal exterior. She picked it up and looked at her own reflection in the blue-tinted mirroring of the visor. "How the hell did you get here?" she quietly asked the woman looking back at her. The hair of the face in the reflection was longer than her own. But it wasn't, of course, it was just unusual to see herself with hair longer than an inch. The helmet would still seal, but her dirty blonde hair certainly wasn't regulation anymore. A soft warm feeling bloomed in her chest. She couldn't remember the last time she'd done anything outside military regulation. It was small, but the hair sat as a reminder of sorts that she wasn't there anymore. She was as far from Terran space as she'd ever been, and got further still by the minute. And yet her eyes unfocused on her own reflection back to the helmet itself, and the armor, and the crates, and she came back to reality. These aren't supposed to be here. Not the weapons in the first crate, not the special operations gear in the second crate, and her eyes shifted to the third crate. Tentatively she placed the helmet back in its snug place and closed and locked the second crate. She moved to the third. Marked the same as the other two. Sealed the same as well. She popped the latches and slowly lifted the hinged lid. Packing material. Sliding the foam material up and out, she found another all-too-familiar piece of equipment. A Hawk system. A high-altitude, all-weather controlled descent system. Everyone pronounced it Hawk system though, because soldiers liked to have acronyms that sounded right. To be fair, Penelope was pretty sure the eggheads tried their best to make the acronym look like Hawk, but just couldn't get it quite right. It too was untouched. A series of devices designed to attach to the wrists, ankles, and lower back. They each contained just enough fuel to slow a person down for a relatively safe landing. Though, Penelope had become known for conserving fuel enough to make use of the device for fast movement in combat situations. The crate contained a single extra set of the tiny fuel canisters. Penelope took a step back. Here it was. As if someone had gift-wrapped her own locker back aboard the Basho and delivered it to her. The only difference is they'd cleaned off the paint and dirt and somehow buffed up the scratches and dents. She needed to talk to Deeg. "Now I'm no expert on those facial expressions, but you've got the same look as when you pulled that gun on me, so I'm guessing this isn't good." As if she'd summoned him, he was standing behind her. She carefully placed the packing material pack in the crate and closed the lid. "Not a soul touches any of this stuff. It's not volatile, but... Deeg, this isn't just a few simple weapons crates. This is advanced hardware, and the only thing that scares me more than finding this along with an anti-personnel defense turret is the terrible things someone could do with them if they'd gotten their hands on it. You have any theories?" 20, and counting, and none of them are good. Deeg, with this armor and these guns, not to insult, but personal shields are for your little energy weapons. They're cute, but a rifle round goes straight through them. Meanwhile, this armor would take a minute of sustained laser fire before buckling. Not to mention the implications of this stuff even being here. This isn't the type of stuff that just gets lost, crate and all. She looked over at the other crew members in the bay. They'd stopped working and their various eyes were trained on her and the captain. "All right, enough gawking. Back to work." Deeg waved a paw and the crew meandered back to the loading bot. "For now we need to get these energy cells to Raxia, but then we head for Terran space and return this stuff. Till then you have full say over it. No one touches it and we store it separately from everything else. If you want, I'm sure the crew here could use your help with organizing things. We're trying to make space for other supplies we might pick up for the colony. That way you can get to know them and keep an eye on our surprise cargo." We made for Terran space? Look, I'm happy to help out around here, but I'm done once we get to Raxia. I'm staying there, that was the deal. Penelope, you can't just leave this, he gestured towards the crates. Look, I'm sorry, but I'm done. I want peace and quiet. I'll leave you with a whole recording explaining everything. Totally official, they'll take it, and you'll get paid, but Raxia is it for me. Fine. I can't force you and I wouldn't, but what about the implications you mentioned? That's for internal affairs to figure out. I'm not active service, and even if I was, that wasn't my job. They'll take care of it. Okay, Deeg held his paws down and out in defeat. He wasn't sure how she could just wash her paws of this, but he wasn't about to start an argument. He could see her expression hardening. She would fight this. What was their expression? Tooth and claw? For now, if you could stack these in the corner here. We'll cover them and keep one of the bay cameras trained on them. Okay, she said, facial expression softening once again. As he left for the bridge, Penelope effortlessly hoisted the crates on top of one another. The Human Security Officer, Part 9. The small ship waited until the freighter moved off a distance. The Tinsna ship's engines had been set to overload, but the small window had pleasantly presented itself. Move within 3,000 meters of the vessel. 3,000, you understood. Sir, the engines are G-. I'm aware. Continue. Yes, sir. We only need to get close enough to grab the data off the turret's systems. Yes, sir. The ship came to just within minimum safe distance of the derelict Tinsna vessel. Stop. Stopping. The man tapped the strange technology. Pol could see the screen, but their translator refused to translate the Terran words. And boom, link successful. Data transfer. A small bar filled green on the screen, and after a few seconds filled entirely. Complete. Move us off. Reversing course. Pol sighed with relief. The small ship trailed off further into the debris field where they'd hidden themselves. After only a minuet, their sensors lit up with the destruction of the Tinsna ship. Hold here and fire up the transmitter. He needs to see this. Yes, sir. Pol pulled the ship's thrust down until they were floating with the rest of the space debris. Moving over to the transmitter screen, they turned it on and pinged home. After a short delay, the connection was established and text came across the screen. Again, their translator refused to translate the words. The human could read them though. Connection secure. /report. / shipment lost as previously reported. Ship scuttled. Data recovered from link with defense turret before destruction. / logs are as expected save for final. Logs read interaction and shutdown sequence initiated by / yes / /1 Captain Scylla. That's Penelope Astor of / interesting / return to home base Arthur. You've another assignment. / heard and understood. Unfortunate we couldn't grab those toys. / it's no matter. It won't slow things down. / connection lost. Penelope downed the last of her coffee. No cream and no sugar, but it tasted like the best cup of coffee she'd ever had after all this time. Months without the common items you take for granted will do that to you, and the further she'd gotten from Terran space, the less common those common things became. This has been honestly delightful, Tony T. I appreciate it. Of course, Miss Penelope. You and your species are truly fascinating. Back at you, and please, friends call me Pen. You honor me. They didn't want to press, to overstep, but, I have a question about your name, but I wish not to offend. Pen could guess where this was going. The machine. It referred to you by another name. They spoke slowly, measuring her reactions. Scylla Penelope finished for them. Yes. If you don't wish to, they sputtered. You're fine, Tunny T. It's a moniker of sorts. An earned name that many of those who served in the capacity that I did would earn or give themselves. Scylla is a reference to an ancient human epic. My name Penelope is also a reference to that same myth. I suppose they thought it fitting in some way. But suffice it to say that friends do not refer to me by that. I see. Well then, Pen, it was a pleasure to sit and talk. I hope we can do it again, they asked tentatively, hoping that their final inquiry didn't just ruin the burgeoning friendship. I'd love to, and you've only got me for 5 or so more cycles, so ask your questions while you've got me. She smiled as the Ashen accompanied her to the door. I don't think I could stop myself if I wanted to, Tunny T chuckled. Penelope had to duck slightly as she exited Tunny T's slab and only paused a moment as the door closed behind her. There wasn't much need for her presence on the bridge, and something else did need her attention. The 3 crates that currently sat in the cargo bay. She quickly set off down the hallway and through the bay doors. A few crew members were working with the loader frame to reorganize some of the cargo. They were clearly keeping their distance from the weapons crates, though. She gave them an awkward wave as if to say no need to worry. They don't explode randomly, and I'm not going to do anything, just checking them. The crates were marked with the all too familiar blocky white lettering. The signage was as she noted back on the Tinsna ship, weapons and ammunition. The first crate was as expected. She popped the latches and lifted the lid to find a row of 15 standard issue TAR-22, 45 empty magazines, and enough ammunition to fill each magazine twice. Nothing in the crate had been touched. Guess they hooked up the big shiny turret before they messed with these. She closed the lid, relocked the latches, gave it a quick tug just to be sure, and then moved to the second crate. This one read the same as the first with the exception of the final number in its ID tag. The first ended in a -45, this one in a -46, and the third in a -47. This indicated that they were, at the very least, stored together and thus from the same place. How they came to be on a smuggling ship and where they were headed was still a mystery. Nevertheless, tucking that question in the back of her head, she popped the lid of the second crate but did not find what ought to be inside. This crate was labeled the same as the first, and yet it contained no firearms nor ammunition. Instead, it contained gear she was more than familiar with. A pressurized full-body all-conditioned suit and its corresponding armor pieces. Staring at her was the visored helmet with built-in breather and, she guessed, heads-up display nearly indistinguishable from her own save the lack of personalization and wear and tear. This was wrong. Everything about this was wrong.